Hello, everyone. Something came to my mind today as I was brooding over the what is happening in our society today and our drive and journey to nationhood as a nation called Nigeria. When I take my mind back to the history of America, America is a nation, a great nation, but so much price paid by the founding fathers. How did all this happen? Many years around 1492, there was a voyage by a man called Christopher Columbus. He made that voyage with three ships, and that's what caused the evolution of America. And that three ships, one of them is called the Santa Maria, the Penta. I don't remember the name of the other one. But in that voyage, he discovered America and he came towards the southern America of Virginia, where the British now alighted and had discovered the natives. They killed a number of the natives and then occupied their farms and discovered the business of tobacco. When that happened, the rest of the Europeans heard about it and they started moving in. The Netherlands, the Dutch, they moved in, occupied a place they called the New Amsterdam and the rest of the places. The Spain occupied from Mexico towards the up, took over the likes of Texas and the rest of the places. And then the French occupied a larger expanse because they came with, the subtle mission work, the Catholicism, and they occupied a larger part of it. So while that was happening, the British were also expanding, covering more territories until they had about 13 colonies. The British, in their way, had a war they called the Anglo-Dutch War, the Second Anglo-Dutch War. That was when they rescued and they took over some territories from the Netherlands, and they renamed the New Amsterdam to the New York you have today. And those ones were withdrawn. And there was a war in the 18th century. The war was, they called the French Indian War. It was English against the French. And the war lasted for 7 years, all in a bid for territories. And after the war, though the British won, but it cost them a lot. So down there in UK, they wanted money from the colonies. So they imposed heavy taxes on them, oppression, taxes on everything, tea, everything. And that was in around 1770 or thereabout. And the natives and the colonies were like, this is too much, so much of a burden. So in 1774, there was a riot, a protest in Boston, where they killed a number of them. The British soldiers moved in and they killed about a number of them. And it now made the natives now to come together. They built what is called a militia. And from there, they were able to organize themselves, and they called themselves the Patriot. And they appointed a man, General George Washington, to head them. And that was what led to the war, and they were able to fight the war and the fight, and they even got to the Boston. They were able to evict the British from there, and they occupied the entire place. So the 13 colonies were the first to regain freedom. Someone like Thomas Jefferson was the one that drafted the first pronouncement of independence, and that was that. So the French and the Spaniards, helped them further to fight further to get more territories. The French, even in the days of Napoleon, sold that part that were occupied to America and sold them for $15 million so that they will use it to execute war in other frontiers. Now, what I'm saying is that America was destined to be a great nation. They fought many wars and they continue to expand their territories. They continue to expand. States were joining, you know, people were coming in until they moved from that starting colonies to about 24 to about 30, and today they have the 50 states. That's the stars, the 50 stars. You see that is represented in their flag. And then you see the line, the 13 line that shows the 13 colonies, but all in red, showing you that blood of men spilled for their freedom. And they, in their creed, say that all men are created equal. That war continued. Around 1860, there was another war. That was a civil war. What caused the civil war? Remember, by the 17th century, when the British saw the tobacco plantation, they came to Africa with their ships and were bundling people against their wish. And they took a lot of slaves, bundled them in shackles, pushed them inside the ships, and then were transporting them to a cold zone that they have never experienced. What an oppression. And a number of them died. A number of them died of diseases. They brought them into the plantation, and they were all, used as slaves that were working in their plantation. That's in the southern America. That's Virginia, to be precise. That continued to happen, but America started, kind of industrializing the North. And there was a good man, a man that feared God, called Abraham Lincoln. He became the president. He gave a signal that this slavery had to stop. And they fought a war. That was what caused the war between the Union and the South then, of the Union. So they fought. But at the end of the day, a lot died. Over 600,000 people died. And then the Union defeated. They surrendered to the Union. Now, in fact, it was what led to the assassination of Abraham Lincoln by one actor they called Booth. He killed him at a close range. But what I'm saying here is that in all this struggle, America is standing firm. Those people that colonized them, those people that oppressed them, today they are the ones, providing them security. They are the people are now leveraging them. If not for America, then maybe the Eastern Europe would have taken over the Western Europe and oppressed them. I want to say that those that are oppressing people today, you don't know what tomorrow lies. Nature, you see, the law of nature has been existing. It's older than creation. So whatever thing anybody is doing today, you're oppressing others. The future is not secure for you. I don't know. It was not in the history of Africans. I don't know how we got it. Today, Africans are the most oppressors. And they oppress who? They oppress fellows. In everything they do, the culture, the music. Today you hear in their music, somebody said, I have billions in my account. The other person say, premium or nothing, and people are dancing to it, and they throw money around, oppressing those that are watching them and are looking at them. That is oppression. The people that are working with you and you take them as if they are your slave, that's oppression. You shouldn't take people working with you or working under your slave. Even you that is a housewife, that girl, maiden that you are beating, that's oppression. Those that are educated are oppressing those that are less privileged, that couldn't pay school fees. That's oppression. Do I talk about those in the political powers called the leaders? That's oppression. This money you are amassing, the commonwealth that you should have used to develop the nation, you are amassing it for yourself. Your children will later sell all those things you are amassing to the poor, the children of the poor, and the children of the poor will lead them. That's oppression. Let's stop oppression. Let's stop oppression. In the lifestyle, even it has crept into the church, the lifestyle. People are oppressing others. Even to the extent that pastors are carried away, they're oppressing others by writing all kinds of things that will make the poor watch them, in pain. That's oppression. Our national anthem, there is a line that says, let's build a nation where no man is oppressed. Africa, we must arise. Nigeria, Africa is waiting for you to arise.